Hello and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast. Today we are continuing the conversation around niching down and specializing. You've sent in some amazing niche questions and left some comments in our Facebook group, and I'm answering them and talking about them here on the podcast. So if you have more questions, head over to our website, theconnectedyogateacher.com. You can see on there how you can reach out to us through a voicemail or an email or right in our Facebook group with loads of connected yoga teachers from around the world. If you're new here, it is amazing to welcome you and to connect for some time here. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And this podcast is being recorded on the traditional territory of the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Mississauga people. I am continuing to learn and unlearn and learn again about the culture of the Anishinaabe people who were here long before my settler ancestors came to Turtle Island. I'm also a Canadian yoga teacher, mom of 3, entrepreneur, and forever student who loves to ask questions, especially when it comes to niching down, specializing, and pelvic health. But also more specifically when it comes to yoga and running a business. And that's why I am super grateful to be able to podcast, because I get to ask questions about yoga and running a business. And like I said, niching down, specializing, and pelvic health topics each and every week. And I get to connect with some amazing people. I'm so grateful that you're here today so that we can dig into this topic of niching down a little bit more. Today's episode is powered by OfferingTree. I use and love this software in my own business because it automates everything from bookings, payments, Zoom links, reminders, and so much more. And we have a special podcast listener discount code over at OfferingTree.com/Shannon for you. Today's episode is also brought to you by pelvic health professionals. So that's the other hat that I wear. I work as the founder of Pelvic Health Professionals. This is a place where movement educators and healthcare professionals collaborate and learn the most up-to-date information regarding pelvic health. We have a really exciting yoga series coming up, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later in today's call. But if you want to check this out, head on over to pelvichealthprofessionals.com. And if you want to go right to the yoga series, click on yoga. This podcast was made for you, the yoga teacher, because I really get how it feels to leave your yoga teacher training, walk out into the real world of running a business and teaching yoga, and feel completely overwhelmed at times. So I wanted you to have a place where you could tune in each and every week, listen while you're busy and on the go, or cleaning the house, or walking the dog, or trying to wrangle the kids to school, whatever it is that you're doing, keeping busy. I wanted you to have a place where you could hang out, listen, and together we can learn and explore how we can do this and make life a little easier as yoga teachers. So a while ago, I asked for your niche questions in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group, and 2 comments really popped out at me this week. Huge thank you to Barbara and Beatrix for asking these questions, and I'm really excited to dive into this, and I feel like they really fit because they're both talking about age as part of their yoga niche. So the first comment was from Barbara. Barbara wrote, "At this point in my yoga teaching career, I'm teaching mostly elderly, over 60 students. I look forward to your podcasts on this subject of niching." So a quick Google search is what I first did, and that didn't land me on a website for Barbara. And then I went to send her a Facebook message, and I realized that we'd actually shared a comment from her back in episode 315 when we were talking about taking time off. And I thought, oh my gosh, what are the odds that, we have 12,000 yoga teachers in the Connected Yoga Teacher group. Barbara leaves 2 different comments, and we're using 2 of them on the podcast. I mean, she's probably left more comments. She's probably a really engaged member in our group. And so maybe the odds are pretty high. But I thought it was cool. And then I also remembered I had asked Barbara for her website when she had left that comment. So that's actually how I found Barbara. It wasn't through a Google search. And I'm only saying this, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to point this out for anyone. I'm saying this because it's a good reminder to, maybe open an incognito window or ask a friend to Google your name and the word yoga or whatever it is that you offer and see what comes up. And what I'm looking for right now as I'm doing this niche series of questions is I want to see if I can immediately recognize someone's niche. Now, as Barbara said in their comment, I'm teaching mostly elderly over 60 students. When I went over to Barbara's website, on the About page is written, most classes at Simply Yoga are geared toward young at heart students over 50. The studio floor is carpeted, providing generous support for prone and supine positions. Chairs are available if needed. All necessary props, including mats, are provided. I really love how Barbara has painted this picture of, you know what? It's young at heart students who are over 50, and we're thinking about you and your body that is 50 and over. And some of those bodies need, a carpeted floor or really appreciate that, or chairs or props, mats if you need them. I love how Barbara is creating this space and really thinking of what students may need at this age. Not all students this age need these things, but I think it's really important to have that on your website if that's something that you offer. So when I got looking at Barbara's website, I thought this might be Barbara's specialty, is this age of people. And then I got thinking, I wonder if Barbara's thinking, like, should I niche down more? Should I specialize more? And so I'm going to include a link for Barbara, but then all of you. It's a one-page PDF, and this is really the distilled version of all of the niche work I've ever done with people. If I could fit it on one page of kind of where to start with your niche work, I believe these are the key questions that you want to answer yourself when you want to niche down or you want to specialize. So I'll link to the PDF in our show notes, so that can be found over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/353. And the first section there is really, do you need to specialize or niche down right now? Those questions there are going to let you know if that's even something that you need to be thinking about or working on right now. And then the last half of that page is helping you to make some decisions that help you to define what yoga you want to be teaching. And there's all kinds of questions in there. And I just really want to dig in. What does the ideal yoga look like that you want to be teaching? Now, Barbara, you didn't really ask more on this. You were just looking forward to it and just sharing that you think your niche is this age group. And I want to say that it totally can be. It doesn't have to be, but it completely can be. So once you do this one-page PDF, if you have more questions about niching, please tag me in our Facebook group. The same goes for anyone else. Let me know when you do that one page if then you come up with more niche questions. Also, I want to say that I did a little sleuthing here and I found Barbara's Facebook page through her website. So Barbara, just one tip on this. I think I would be making sure that you post to your Facebook page, different things about this age group and yoga for this age group. So it could be a photo of the chairs that are available, and you could say, chairs are available if needed for our yoga classes and blah, 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 and here's how you sign up. A really simple post like that might go a long way on your Facebook page. And also your website, I would just dig into the SEO. And if you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? I can include a link to a podcast episode that we did a long time ago on SEO. Basically, SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it is how people find your website when they do a search. I want it so that they can search your name and the word yoga and come up with your website near the top. So check out episode 144 that we did with Meg Casebolt if you want to learn more about SEO. And let me know then if you have further questions about that. Okay, another comment that is along the same thread. Beatrix sent this comment that said, I'm interested in beginning chair yoga and I'm trying to define the niche. Elderly people with limitations, how broad should I go? So I immediately did another Google search, looked for Beatrix, and didn't find a website. And I found out later that Beatrix doesn't have a website and doesn't even really use social media and definitely doesn't use a website to market their yoga. And I love this kind of an example. We actually did a great podcast episode with Betty Welsh, a really good friend of mine, a local yoga teacher who is not online at all for any marketing, and she runs a thriving yoga business. I'll make sure to link to that episode in the show notes if you're wondering how to do that. So when I first read this comment from Beatrix that said, I'm trying to define this niche, and then Beatrix went on to say, elderly people with limitations, how broad should I go? I thought the niche is not necessarily age related. It could be, but it doesn't need to be. And I personally would be very curious to try on the niche of chair yoga for a whole month. So a while back, we did an episode like try this niche on for a month. I highly recommend going back and listening to that one if you're looking for some inspiration on how do I do this for a whole month. Now, I actually reached out to Beatrix and asked a few more questions and got a little more information about this because I feel like, those pieces of information help me to help someone. Beatrix let me know that they live in a small town teaching Hatha Flow yoga to 40 to 65 for the age range, but there are some 20-year-olds that show up in class. Beatrix said that students are not interested in checking Instagram for classes and that maybe this is connected to age. And I would say 100%, I think you're right on this. If you are wanting to reach, 40, 50, 60s and plus in age, I don't know that Instagram is the best platform for you. I would say it's maybe Facebook, but hold on, because Beatrix went on to say chair yoga is an idea and thinking that this would be predominantly for seniors. And I agree, you're going to have a lot of seniors in that class, but maybe there are people with limited mobility or an injury or some reason, why they can't do a yoga class that isn't chair yoga. Beatrix then went on to ask me if a website is needed. And I love this question. Beatrix then said, right now what I'm doing is I'm putting up posters in local shops, at a bakery, at the bank, and I'm getting reasonable class sizes right now. And I'm teaching 2 classes a week. Chair yoga would be a 3rd class on top of that. I'm also working part-time and I don't need more classes. Also, Beatrix said, I'm not very social media savvy and I'm just not great at doing social media. So I knew right away, social media, let's just take that out of this equation for Beatrix. And I would say maybe once in a while posting fine, something about chair yoga, but I would keep going. And I actually left a voice message for Beatrix to say, keep going on this marketing that you're doing, not needing it to be on a website or on social media at all right now, unless you want to build an online yoga class or you really want to become known as someone who teaches chair yoga and specializes in that in your area, then you might want a website. Or maybe you need some way to book people in and that's why you need a website. Okay, this is a really good time to just pop in here for a little moment here, Connected Yoga Teachers, to tell you about OfferingTree. Because yes, they sponsor the podcast and that brings it to you today. But I also want to tell you because I use OfferingTree for my own booking. They make everything very automatic. So any yoga series that I've hosted online for a long time has been through OfferingTree because I love that there's Zoom links that are automatic, time zones, reminder emails, texts, waivers. All of this happens without me doing anything. So if you want to check out the next yoga series and how it looks with our bookings done with OfferingTree, that's over at pelvichealthprofessionals.com and click on yoga and you'll see that we have a series coming up in January with Tyla. It's 6 weeks of yoga for pelvic cancer. Anyone can sign up. You can share it with a friend if they're dealing with a cancer diagnosis. And if you are looking for a booking software, or if you know you're at the spot in your business where you need a website or you want a simplified website that you can update, look into OfferingTree. It is really the best software I've seen in my 18 plus years of teaching yoga and managing yoga studios. And we have a special podcast listener discount code for you over at OfferingTree.com/Shannon. All right, let's get back into this niche conversation. Where did we leave off? Okay, so when I was leaving this message for Beatrix, I was really reminded of quite a few yoga teachers that I know who are in a small town community and really know how to talk to people and grow their business that way. A lot of it is word of mouth. Posters still work. Don't write that off as a marketing tool. And I suggested to Beatrix to try checking out some groups like Rotary, groups like that, where they bring in local guest speakers, and you could just do a very short chair yoga demo. You said that you hang posters in the bank, Beatrix. You might even go to the bank and do like a little 10-minute lunch chair yoga demo, because people in the bank might be sitting for long periods of time at their desk. And we all know that chair yoga doesn't mean that you're sitting. You can also use the chair and hold on to it and come to standing and use it for balance poses. So I just think that might be the best way to try and really promote if you are wanting to grow your classes. And that's one of the big reasons when you download this PDF, this one page, one of the big reasons that we niche down and specialize is if we want our marketing to be a little simpler, and we also want to see an increase in yoga students or our income. So if you're not there, I would say maybe just hang on and keep going with your business, what challenges are coming up, and deal with those ahead of this if this isn't something that's top of the list. Also, if you are niching down right now and you don't have a website, go check out last week's podcast where I talked about niching down without a website. And to Beatrix or any other yoga teacher who's thinking, well, I think this will be my niche and I don't know where to start. Like I said, that try this niche on for a month, that episode 345 that we did, that's a good one to listen to. But let's just take the example of chair yoga. I would say, what would it be like to post one photo or one video per week if you're on social media? Beatrix isn't going to do this homework, but anyone else who might be on social media and that's working for you, what would it be like to post once a week about this? And maybe it's even on your own personal Facebook, just for a month, just 4 posts about your niche and see what happens, see what questions people have. I also want to say, as we're talking about is age a yoga niche, there is a podcast episode, gosh, it was a long time ago that I recorded this, and it actually came out of me talking about yoga for seniors, and there was a huge backlash online about that wording. And so I just want to lead you there because through me making some mistakes with my words, I learned a lot about ageism, ableism, and language around yoga for older adults. Oh my gosh, that's another episode that we did with Maria. Gosh, I miss her. I'll link to both of those episodes so that if you are wanting to niche down and it is for an older population, check those episodes out for sure. So all of the links for these podcast episodes will be in our show notes. That's over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/353. And I just want to say in conclusion, 100% yes. The quick answer is yes. Age can be a niche or a specialty. And then I would also ask, does it need to be? So if you came to me and you said, I want to teach a baby and me yoga class, definitely age comes into play here. It did for me anyway. When I taught baby and me yoga, I remember feeling like, okay, the age is going to be from birth to crawling. And then crawling babies will have their own class because parents with non-crawling babies can get really stressed out in a class when crawling babes are trying to come over and visit with the newborn babes. So that is where it comes into play. Or it might be yoga for kids. And if it is yoga for kids, define what that age is. Yoga for preteens, yoga for teens. This is where we're going for an age. But if it's something like, I really want to teach chair yoga, I don't think you need to set an age for that. Let people figure that out on their own. So really ask yourself, is age even necessary to add into my niche? I'm curious what questions come up as you're listening to this. So again, tag me on Instagram or in our Facebook group if you have more niche questions, or send them through our voicemail button or through email. Make sure you're signed up to my email. That's where I really share some other things that are going on, just in my personal life and how I'm doing day to day, or week to week, I should say. I usually send out one email a week. I also want to tell you, if you're wanting to hang out in person, we are having a great call, and it's actually today. I'm looking at the calendar. When this episode comes out, it's going to be today. We're doing pelvic health and cancer with Tyla Arneson, who we had on the podcast. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't download this at 5 a.m. when it releases and now I've missed it, not to worry. There is a replay of this call with Tyla. And if you head over to pelvichealthprofessionals.com, you can access it. And then I also want to tell you about the yoga series that we're doing with Tyla. It begins January the 10th and it goes until February 14th. Yes, there will be a replay, so you can access this anytime starting January the 10th, and you can attend live. It's really great if you know someone who's dealing with pelvic cancer, or if you are a yoga teacher who wants to learn more about how to teach to the cancer community. Visit pelvichealthprofessionals.com to check that out and click on yoga at the top. Thank you so much to our amazing team over here, Suzanne Crunch and Sinead, for making today's podcast reach all of you, dear listeners, and for all of the other work that they're doing in this world. And I also want to say thank you for being here all the way until the end of today's episode. It means a lot. I know a lot is happening in the world. I know some people have some pretty heavy hearts. I know people are out there experiencing joy and fun and exciting things as well. So I'm just grateful that you hung out and we got to spend some time together. I'd like to leave you with a question, and that is, what will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?